Welcome to the Fallen State. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. Thank you for joining us. You can become a member of the Fallen State right there on the YouTube channel, TheFallenState.tv or locals.com. And a quick reminder, check out my coffee. I have my own coffee, Pachis Coffee. It's right there on JesseLeePeterson.shop. JesseLeePeterson.shop. And no, I didn't make the coffee on the plantation. I wish I had thought about that then. I have with me Warren Smith. He's a teacher, a volunteer firefighter, and the host of the Warren Smith Secret Scholar Society on the YouTube channel there. Warren, it sounds like you belong to, what's the name of that? The Mason or something. Is this a Mason organization?
Yeah, the Freemasons. No.
What is the Secret Scholar Society?
Society? Well, it wouldn't be secret if I told. I'm kidding. No, but I found this.
That's what
I
the
found
Mason
a story
says,
in the Harvard archive when I was doing my thesis at Emerson College. I got access to the archive and found stories about the lead up to World War II and the concentration of power at World War II. When John F. Kennedy was a student there, his brother was a student, and there was a lot of secret societies between Princeton, Yale, and Harvard. So that was the inspiration for the name. But
okay.
it was just it's just a story I was working on.
So it's not like a club or anything that people can join?
Well, unless you consider the YouTube channel and Discord server and all of that, but maybe one day it'll be a full-on secret society.
And so reading your story is very interesting. It sounds like prior to your video that went viral, you were a teacher, you just went to work, you walking down the road, you're minding your own business, and then, going to teach every day. Were you a teacher at a public school?
First year teaching, I was at a public school. Then I was at a school where kids were kicked out of public school, so they sent them there. So it was still publicly funded by the state. So technically you could call it a public school, but it was specialized for problematic behavior.
Oh, okay. So you just mind your own business, and one day you have this discussion with one of your students, I guess, right? Tell us about that and what caused it to go viral the way it did.
Well, I can tell you about the video we were doing. I was teaching multimedia content creation, teaching students how to do digital art, Adobe Photoshop, Premiere, the kind of people that are working on your set right now.
Right.
It's preparing students for those kinds of jobs where I think there's more and more potential for those kinds of jobs, and also doing it in a therapeutic way because some of the students are facing behavioral challenges. Some are just shy. Some have more physical challenges, autism, things like that. So I was teaching kind of what I naturally do now on YouTube, and that's what my background was in, but just in narrative filmmaking and things. And they wanted us to do a newscast, and they wanted this one student specifically to be on camera, and he was nervous on the day, so I sat down, and it was really low quality. It didn't look like a newscast at all. We had just gotten this little podunk camera, so we were just trying to do what they'd asked us to do. And I said, here, just as a warm-up, let's just have a conversation like a podcast like we do often. And I said, what do you want to ask me? And they said, well, I'd be interested to know about Harry Potter or J.K. Rowling. So then we just hit record. And I said, so these guys want to talk about J.K. Rowling. So what's up? What do you want to know? And that was the exchange. And why it went viral, I do not know. I can't tell you for sure. I think part of it was Elon Musk tweeting it.
Right.
Had he not, I don't know if it would have gone the way it went, but I don't regret anything. It was very unexpected. And then it opens you're faced with this fork in the road where I had been getting a check in the mail. And I was at the top tier of the pay level because I had my master's and everything, like I was telling you with graduate school. So I can tell you at that school, the people that are making the most money, we would get a check in the mail every 2 weeks for $1,400, 12 months a year. And that's it. And so when you do have this fork in the road of like, oh, I can enter the unknown, people aren't going to like it. I'd had a meeting already with the school and the lawyers and everything. They said, well, there were no rules broken. The student had a release form. I have all the releases because we do promo videos and online content all the time. And so I decided to keep going and try and make the most out of it. And so me and this one other teacher set up a little space in my house and started making videos.
Amazing. And so as a result of this video with the kid in the school, you were fired from the school, right?
I was.
Were you surprised when they fired you for that?
Yes, I did not see that coming. I mean, I was surprised that I wasn't fired like the day after, because I did Pierce Morgan like 2 days after that, and people had seen it after Elon tweeted it. Then after Pierce Morgan, I came into work and I just acted like nothing had happened, but they already knew. And that's when they wanted to sit down with the lawyers. They were like, oh, this could actually, this might not stop anytime soon. And that's when they said, well, it's all good. Just don't divulge the name of the school or anything. And they said, well, hopefully you don't make any mistakes, But I had a sense, I had teachers coming up to me being like, how are you not in trouble? Like, how did you not get fired already? Because at that school, because it's not like what we think of as a regular public school, they have more control. It's run like a business. So if they don't want someone there, they can just get rid of them for no reason. We sign a release when we were hired. I remember that because when I signed on to that school, I was like, wait, I can get fired at any point for no reason. That's interesting. Yeah. So there's ups and downs to that, pros and cons. So I think it just became, as time progressed, 3 months later, in their minds, like it had died down to the point where I think they were thinking, oh, if we fire this guy right now, he could end up in the news or something. Who knows what'll happen? He was just on Pierce Morgan, it'll just make things worse for us. So they waited 3 months, and then it just out of nowhere, middle of the day, took everything, escorted out. It was like crazy.
Oh, amazing. Was the kid that was involved in the video, was he surprised or saddened that you were fired?
Honestly, I don't know. I haven't seen anyone since.
Oh, I see.
They got rid of me, like, and they have you escorted out and everything, so there's no contact.
That's what
I have no idea.
That's what I never understood about people getting fired. When you get fired, why do they have to have you escorted off the premises?
I can tell you why. I learned why, because they're positioning themselves for a legal battle. They're trying to position themselves for a legal battle, so they're thinking, all right, so the next step is to try and find something better to stick on you. They're going to go through everything. They took my computer, they went through everything, trying to find, as if there was some conspiracy.
Wow.
It was strange. So they don't want you to have time they don't want you to see it coming. They want to act like it's just a phone call came in and they want to talk to you about something, so that you leave everything just the way it is. That gives them the most leverage. It's all just in their best interest legally. It's pretty cold. It feels cold when it's happening. It's not a pleasant experience.
And so were you upset when you got fired, or are you okay with it?
No, I came home and I was like throwing up the rest of the day. Yeah, I've kind of blocked it out mentally. Really? I remember in that time period.
And did you cry?
No.
You were just throwing up? Why were you throwing up?
I was throwing up.
Why?
Because it feels like there's a mass of people with lawyers behind them that are trying to not just get rid of you. I could understand if they just wanted to part ways, but it felt more like they wanted to take me out. And so, like, they wanted me to sign an NDA. They held the rest of my pay for that year. They would give it to me only if I signed the NDA. I didn't have a lawyer, couldn't afford a lawyer. There's suddenly the unknown. You feel cut off. They want you to feel isolated.
Yeah.
I lost my best friend, that other teacher who was doing the videos with me. I saw him one time when he came over to get the equipment out of that studio we had made, but I knew they were going to get to him too, and they put the fear of everything in him. And so he had no choice. I understand that, because the same thing could happen to him. But they want you to feel isolated, and they want you to feel like you have no choice but to sign this thing, because they can just out-lawyer you. It's not a good feeling. In that moment, I just wanted to be free of it. I wanted to just get to a point where I never have to to think about it again.
And
And that's where I got to.
and so are you your friend? He doesn't talk to you anymore either.
No, he went silent after that.
Really? Was he afraid that they may catch him talking to you or something?
They probably sat him down and told him legally. They probably did the whole legal talk to him and said, you can't legally talk to him. It made it clear that he could get in big trouble for that and get fired. He was you hear his voice in a lot of the videos. He never appeared on camera, but he's the person I'm talking to in those early videos. So
and so when was this?
this was in May of a little over a year ago, May.
And so that would be May of 2024. Are you over it now?
I am. I feel free of it. Like they can't do anything to me now.
Oh, good. Right on. And so in this video with the kid, you guys were just having a conversation, and it was just a back and forth conversation. Do you normally teach in that way?
I do.
So that's your teaching style.
Often, yes, it is. Yes.
And how did you come up with that style of teaching?
It seems logical. It's the most effective thing that I've seen work when you're just trying. It seems to be what students resonate with.
Yeah.
It depends on if you're doing technical lessons, like how to do Photoshop or how to edit video, there's more hands-on at the computer, but they seem to be hungry for genuine conversations as well. There's a lot of curiosity. There's a lot of things that they aren't taught. Like many of them don't even know the difference between a Democrat and a Republican.
Yeah.
So
the boy seemed to really learn something from it, the discussion, because he realized, oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I didn't know that. And that's what's supposed to happen in life. You think you know something, and then you realize you're wrong. That's the lesson in life. And that's the one that tends to stay with you.
Because I think that's why I enjoy working with that age group. I teach still one class at Emerson College, and I've taught at the college level when I was a graduate student. And so I've worked with all the different age groups, and except younger than high school. But at the high school level, many of them do have this genuine, humble attitude towards it, which is what you saw in that video. They don't feel like they're fighting a war like they do in college. Many of them have become so ingrained that they would never admit being wrong.
And what age group was that boy?
He was high school. He was 18.
Oh, okay. It was interesting. They should teach regular school like that too, you know.
I agree. That's what I did when I was teaching at regular public high school.
Yeah.
And they embraced the online platform as well. That's where I first got a Twitter account. They asked me to open a Twitter account because I was teaching the same thing, running newscasts and stuff, and they would post it all online.
Right on. What's important to you?
My family is the first thing.
Meaning your wife and kids?
Mm-hmm.
You're married?
I would say not under the government, but between God and me and her. This is like an interesting conversation because we're going to probably, but I've just been in this place where I've been trying to figure out the best way to go about it. Why get the government involved? But I understand there are benefits to that, and we are going to do that in the very near future.
Right. So you're married.
Yes.
And you have children?
Yes.
How did your family react to what happened to you? What was their reaction to that at the school, by being fired?
Our boy is very young. He's just turned 4, a little older than 4. So he was too young. He doesn't know what's going on with it. But
so
she
you
was
made
very
a
supportive.
boy first?
I'm sorry, what?
Your first child was a boy?
Yeah, we only have one. We're thinking we're having another. We're planning to have another very soon, which is part of the reason for the legal conversation.
Well, real men make boys first. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
So this is August is Men's History Month. So congratulations, you made a boy first. Real men make boys first. Right on, Warren.
Thank you.
And so your family is important to you, and what else?
Wisdom, trying to be wise, because everything is in the service of my family. Therefore, I want to be the best version of myself, and I want the best for my community because of that, hence being a volunteer firefighter. And because I want what's best for my family, I want the best country. I want the country to be the best it can be. My priority is being able to provide for them. So then I care about my work, doing YouTube and everything that's coming with that. And so from doing YouTube, this critical thinking practice has been very important. The pursuit of logic that I recognize is mostly seems to be we're all trying to reach for objective truth. That's what knowledge is. I think about it, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I think someone like Jordan Peterson really became a phenomenon because he captured that fire in a bottle, because what he was teaching was that nothing will improve your life more than living in accordance with the fabric of reality. So, and in many of these debates I'm examining, it seems like one side seems to believe that the fabric of reality is either malleable or is entirely just a social construct. Like David Pakman, for example, I just made a video about you and David Pakman, and that's a pattern that I see. When you ask him about, do you think that you're moral or you know the difference between right and wrong? He says, does anyone really? Well, I think that is ingrained in the fabric of reality, which is ingrained within all of us. And that's why when you're listening to certain people speak, it's like, wait a minute, I already know that, but hearing it articulated unlocks something in me. And that's why he caught fire in a bottle. So pursuing that, I think that would probably be my response to you, is the pursuit of trying to map properly onto the fabric of reality, because that's what's going to bring all success or failure in my endeavor.
Amazing. Are you a Christian?
I am, yes, sir.
And why did you become a Christian? And how did that happen?
It's logical to me. Whether you want to, believing in God for sure, because how could the fabric of reality, there's a lot of theories around evolution, evolutionary biology. It's all just a matter of utility, but they're trying to account for the archetypes and why we really know right from wrong, and why certain archetypes in people and messages resonate with us on the spiritual level. To me, it goes deeper than just, certain mimetic ideas resonate and have more utility, therefore they're passed on. And then when you look at mathematics and the patterns in nature, it's just, everything is just so connected in this way and nothing can quite explain the intuition level that you can feel often, like we're going through that experience at the school. I could sort of sense it coming. I could, even though it was still a surprise, I knew I was trying to gear up for something, and I knew not to sign that document. And I was trying to remind myself to live as though God exists. I think that's really is an important thing that Peterson really nailed. And many people would say, there's a lot more utility logically, Warren, to reveal the name of the school. That would have meant more opportunities. Fox News wanted to sit down with me, but they said, you won't reveal the name of the school, then we can't do the article. Okay, then tough luck. It's just like, because it doesn't feel right. And there might not be a real logical reason to that. Or looking at World War II, Winston Churchill, when he said, no, we're not going to do what's simply logical, because what's the point of going down fighting if we're all just going to die in the pursuit? But he said it's better to go down fighting if it does come to that. And in doing so, and in living as though God existed, he imbued the people with the spirit that they didn't even know they had. That spirit that can be unlocked in us, to me, indicates there's something higher.
And so you became a Christian because you wanted more, or something different, or something higher, or something?
Not that I want more. I want to live in accordance with what is.
Oh, okay.
And when I do live that way, I see results.
Yeah.
The founding fathers as well. It's difficult, I think, to live in this country, which was made possible because of these men in their pursuit to create this framework that would most accurately represent the fabric of reality. You could switch out the fabric of reality with God. You know, they would say like appeal to heaven, liberty or death. And these rights are self-evident. Well, they're self-evident. Why are they self-evident? That only really makes sense if it's because reality, because there's a higher power has made it this way. And that's not just evolution.
How long have you been a Christian?
My parents tried. I think they felt obligated to take us to church when we were kids because that's how they were raised. But I
Yeah.
don't think it was coming from the same place as what I'm describing. And then that kind of fades away. They're not really even interested in it now, and they kind of look down on it in a way where. So then you wander off, and you're a fool when you're young. And I've done all the fool things, and then it's just the journey. And it can take a long time. You could be closer to 30 by the time you really start to really mature, and it's not optimal. I think the earlier the better. But
why
for me, that's when my journey kicked in.
How old are you?
I am now 38.
Oh, so you started to wake up when you enter into your 30s?
I entered into graduate school at 28, and that's when I first started to encounter the mind virus symptoms, where I was told there were students protesting, claiming that Emerson was racist. And I was in graduate level courses, which means they're taught by some of the top professors. So I had a course taught by the dean of the undergraduate student body the day after the protest. So we sit down for a 4-hour class on the philosophy of teaching, because I was training to be a teacher and a professor was what I was planning. And they had the head of the Social Justice Center present because they wanted to spend the entire 4 hours to deliberate on these recent protests and how we can address our inherent unbiased, our inherent subconscious bias as white people. And I was told, me and the 2 other white students were told to not speak the whole class and to concede our space. That's the best thing we could do, was to concede our space. And I thought, this doesn't make sense.
So they literally told you, as a white guy, you can't say anything.
Yeah, they said, just don't take this time to not talk and to concede your space. Those are the exact words.
So what was the purpose of being in the class then if they weren't going to allow you to speak?
That's the question I was asking myself at the time. And they were talking about decolonializing or decolonizing the canon. I can't remember which of the 2 it was. And I remember the dean seemed bothered by this, but he seemed too afraid to say anything.
Yeah.
Because then after the class was over, we got in the elevator and it was just me and him. And he sighed under his breath. He was saying, decolonize the canon. This is ridiculous. And I remember that distinctly. We rode down the elevator and then left. And it was at night because they were like night classes. He was bothered by it. There were a lot of professors bothered by it, but it was this power of the mob that had this Facebook group running called #EmersonSoRacist, and they would record professors. There was no evidence of real racism. There were just microaggressions. And there were so many experiences I had where I saw that change grown adults.
That's amazing. What is it like being white and being under attack, being blamed for everything? You're not allowed to speak up. You're not allowed to disagree with all this mess. What is it like knowing that white people, especially white men like you, are the most hated species on this side of heaven? What does that feel like to live that way?
Where I am now, I am free of it, and I don't even think about it. And yeah, people come at you online. But then when I was in that college space, you definitely feel it. You get looks, and that there are many guys, they're all trying to performatively separate themselves from that group, but it feels felt absolutely opposite to everything I thought we were supposed to be doing, because it does feel that way. You are a minority. The majority, no, and this is this is true, that there were, I would estimate 80% of the students, maybe 75% of the students were from China. So they were the majority because they get more money from Chinese. And this was only the graduate level. Undergrad seemed to reflect different demographics, but that was very strange. And I tried to investigate that a bit, and there was a lot of women. So men, white guys, are definitely a minority. Like that class I was describing, there was probably 15 to 20 students in there. There was 3 white guys. And that's how the average class is. There are a number of classes. There was a class where I signed up for, came in, and I was the only, not the only American student. I was the only non-Chinese student. And they're all speaking in Chinese. And you're supposed to be doing a lot of group projects because it's film directing and all this. And I dropped the class. It's like, this isn't going to work. So it's not a good feeling.
What made you stay at Emory College? Emerson College, knowing that was happening. Why did you stay?
Because I had a half-ride scholarship. I really liked Boston and Massachusetts, despite the crazy mentality here. I understand that it's a very liberal state. I really like the history, the American Revolution. It's the closest thing I have found to what feels like Europe in a way. And I've since settled here outside of the city. I really like where I live in this small town. But you're just trying to get to the finish line so you can get that MFA, that master's. You're not really learning from these classes. Yeah, you're learning some stuff from that, but you're really learning from what you're doing. Like your thesis, for example, it got to the point where it was so difficult for me to even find crew members to work on, because you have to make a movie in film school. And I'm not saying I would recommend film school, but it depends on what you want to do. It did serve me well. But you have to make a movie with a crew. No one wanted to be on my crew because I think they started to get a sense. I wanted to make a movie first about Winston Churchill. They told me I couldn't do that because he was racist. I had questioned the Chinese. I tried to make a little documentary just interviewing the students about why did you choose to come to America to study? Because they had just come directly from China. They hadn't been living in China. Their families they hadn't been living in America. Their families still lived in China. So there was a bit of ostracization to where I could not get a single person to crew on it. So I made the movie by myself.
Amazing.
With 2 other friends that weren't even at the college, and I used all my own equipment and everything. That's where you're going to learn. It's not from the classes. You're paying a fortune. The average tuition is $60,000 a year. Now, I got a half ride, but it's a lot of money. So you're just trying to get to the finish line and you're going to have to put up with this crap. And there's not many options. Wherever you go, most colleges are going to be like that, especially in Massachusetts. So it didn't seem logical to move given my plan and what I was trying to do.
So were you traumatized?
No, I wouldn't say I was traumatized.
You weren't traumatized. And so now when you go out and around whatever you do, and you're out there and people looking at you because you're white, what does that feel like? How's that? Because you can't say anything.
If someone's looking at me now, it's more likely it's because of YouTube. Maybe they've seen me on YouTube or something.
You like that?
Do I like that?
Would you prefer to be looked at as a popular person on YouTube, or if they didn't know this about you and you were walking about or going about your way, they saw you as a white man to be hated?
Well, in Boston, there's a lot of white people. At the college, it's different. But when you're walking around Boston, it's kind of known as there's not there are black people. There's not a huge, like the movie The Departed, they make a joke about that. He's like, you're a black guy in Boston, you're already screwed. So I think it's more political because it's more, as a male, like what we were saying, I think it's more political where if you get labeled in a community like that as disagreeing, and I wasn't even considering myself conservative at that point, but I don't know, I just ignore it, honestly.
Oh, okay. And so
it sucks.
It sucks?
Yeah, it's not a good feeling. Like if people, look down and they don't even know you.
Yeah.
Someone told me, they said, Warren, I feel like you were born in the wrong century.
Yeah.
I thought, what does that mean? Because I was wearing a button up and I had kind of dress shoes on or something at the time, I think. And I've been really interested in Winston Churchill. I think that's what that was coming from.
Amazing. So it sucks, and you're right about that. So you are Christian. Do you know God?
I think that when you can quiet your ego in the pursuit of wisdom, you can hear that voice ingrained within you. That's kind of the conscience, the Jiminy Cricket, that voice that resides in all of us if you have the wisdom to listen to it, but you have to control your ego to be able to hear it. So I do think that we all have the capacity.
And how do you control your...
Yeah.
I'm sorry. How do you control your ego?
Through logic and reason.
Meaning what?
So I'm in a negotiation right now with an alternative video platform they want sponsor ad reads and things, and it's a back and forth, and you feel if you were to act out of ego, emotion is the death of reason, and emotion comes from ego. It's just looking at it objectively and recognizing it's business. It's not personal. I need to do what is logical to achieve the ideal outcome. And if I need to be clear that, look, I understand this is what I can do, and I can't do what you guys are asking me to do, and no hard feelings if that doesn't work. It's that kind of approach. Or if it's in a debate, I don't even approach them as a debate, even if they are in a debate. And I've had some interesting debates with high profile, some of the best debaters right now in the world, I would say. And I always frame it as a conversation, regardless of how they want to frame it. I think to answer your question, you have to go into that because you can only lose if you're playing to win. So the answer to your question is don't try to win. If your ultimate goal is the pursuit of truth and learning, then there's no such thing as losing. Because if you make a mistake, if they trap you, you can't be trapped. You just acknowledge where you made a mistake. And then you grow. So there's only growth.
Do you have perfect peace?
No, I wouldn't say perfect. No, I don't think I'll ever achieve perfection.
Why do you think that?
Because no human being, isn't that not the idea of Christ? Is that the only perfect person was Christ?
No. Christ's idea is for you to be perfect as he is perfect.
Right.
And so his idea is for you to overcome not being perfect and be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Why don't you have perfect peace? Well, but why do you believe that you cannot have perfect peace?
Because I think we all still are going to sin in some form or another. And correct me, you know more about this, so tell me if I'm wrong about this, but I thought that was kind of the idea of Christianity, is that he's the ideal, that, yeah, you're right, that's the target we're striving for. But that's why we're constantly praying in the acknowledgement that even though we can't achieve perfection, it's still trying to reach it, even though you know you can't achieve it. And I think there's something really interesting in that dynamic.
What's the purpose of trying to achieve something that you don't believe is possible?
Right. That's the spiritual idea.
What?
I think that's the really interesting dynamic here, because there are some battles that are worth fighting, even when you don't think you can win, even if it looks hopeless. So, okay, George Washington crossing the Delaware, right? That he crossed that river. They thought the battle was over. So I would turn that back on you, say, why, George Washington, why would you cross the river with the last of your army if you don't think you can win this war? Everyone's telling you the war is already lost. Why do that? It's not logical. But doing that is what saved him, saved them, and saved this country. Had he not crossed that river that night when everyone thought it was lost, we wouldn't have a country. It's the same thing.
But why would you try to achieve perfection if you don't think it's possible? Why reach for something that is not possible to become or have? That doesn't make sense.
Exactly. It's so when did
exactly? The sun.
Because sometimes we can't just pursue logic. Because if George Washington had just said, "Well, this doesn't make sense," we have no hope of winning, so why try? then we wouldn't have a country. But I think because in those moments, that's when God reaches down and makes a difference. He recognizes you're willing to do something. It's the self-sacrificial idea as well, carrying your cross, the sacrifice. My belief is that in those moments, he acknowledges that this guy's going almost to his metaphorical death, like fighting a battle where there's no hope of winning, and that's where divine intervention appears.
Meaning what?
It could mean many things. In that example, it meant the turning of the tide of the war. Churchill's example, it meant imbuing the people with the fighting spirit that resided in them spiritually, the voice of God.
And so
for me, it could mean being a better and better man, even though I know myself well enough to know that every thought of every day is not going to be pure. Every interaction is not going to be pure, but I can still strive for it. Because what's the alternative?
What?
The perfection.
But it doesn't make common sense or logical sense that you will even make an attempt to strive for something that you don't believe is possible.
Well, that's where it's when illogical behavior saves you. That's where spirituality resides.
Illogical behavior cannot save you.
I disagree. I think that's exactly what saved the British people against Hitler, and I think that's what formed our country.
Illogical behavior?
Was it logical for George Washington to cross that river when he genuinely believed they had no hope of winning and they were just going to their deaths? Is that logical?
Yes.
Why?
Because he had something that was leading him that caused him to continue until
So could I not say the same thing about my pursuit of perfection?
Not if on one hand you don't believe it's possible. George Washington believed that it was possible, so he went and did it anyway, right? But you don't believe that it's possible to have perfect peace. And so you're reaching for something that you don't believe.
We're talking about perfect peace. I get what yeah. Perfection, because I thought the ideal of like the only perfect, pure being would be Christ.
Why'd you think that?
He's the Son of God. That would be God on earth. If you achieve anything short of God on earth would not be perfect.
But aren't you a son of God?
Right.
So why do you believe you can't have perfect peace then? If the Son Jesus Christ had it, why can't you have it?
Now we're talking about perfect peace, though. Maybe that was my confusion with what you were saying. What is perfect peace? Then I could answer this.
No, tell me why you believe you can't have it if you believe you say you.
Well, I don't know what it is. We have to define it first.
I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Do you create your own thoughts? You mentioned thoughts, how they come. Do you create your own thoughts?
I think our subconscious is extremely powerful. That's one of the reasons I think we all have the capacity to. I think like the voice of God is that instinctive. It is often that instinctive feeling that is subconscious that happens without us even realizing it. So there's almost two levels of thought. There's the subconscious and then the conscious. I control the conscious. Right, so I have those. Okay, a beautiful woman walks by you on the street. You might feel attraction without meaning to or wanting to. You feel, but how you respond to that feeling is in your control. Now we're talking about the conscious level. I do have control of that conscious level.
I'm black and slow, so I didn't get that. Do you create your own thoughts?
At the conscious level, do I create my own thoughts?
Yeah.
I control my own. I create some of my thoughts, and I control my thoughts at the conscious level.
Okay, so you create some of your thoughts.
Yes.
Give me an example of a thought that you create.
So when I was fired, every impulse was take these people down and fight back, which many would say would be the logical course of action. But then I think about it, I meditate on it. There's trails near my house where I just walk and walk and walk. My mind was just racing for days, trying to figure out what would be the right thing to do. And in those moments I pray, and I would say the result of those moments, that is the act of creating a thought. You're pursuing the right answer.
Tell me the step you take, 1, 2, 3, 4, the step you take to create your own thoughts.
I haven't thought about it to that level necessarily. Let's see. The first step is remove emotion, look at it rationally with logic. You have to identify what your ultimate goal is in order to determine the right move on the chessboard. So I would say that would be my first response to that. But then there's also the prayer form of trying to figure out the right move. So then I try and quiet my mind and ego and listen to that voice inside me that I do think resonates a higher power. And I think you can hear it if you're aligned in that way. If you can align, you can hear it, and then you just trust, like you can feel that it's right to not skewer the school publicly. You want to. Fox News will do an article. It would be logical. They have it coming, but it doesn't, for some reason, it doesn't feel right. Now I'm creating a thought process. I'm going to make a different move. And I can't quite tell you the logical reason, but I feel like it's going to play out for the best. And that's the voice of God, I think.
So tell me the steps you take to create a thought. How do you do it? Number 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Oh, I don't know if I can simplify it to 1, 2, 3, but what I just described. So quiet.
But you haven't told me how you create thoughts.
Quiet your ego. Identify your goal. Use logic and reason to identify the next move, and be conscious of the reason. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Think 5.
And so,
does that work?
Why do you create thoughts that bring you misery?
Because those are often occurring that's when you give in to the subconscious impulses.
No,
the woman walks by you on the street.
Create thoughts. Why do you create thought? Excuse me. Why do you create thought that builds you up? As soon as you build up, you think things are fine. You create some more thoughts that bring you down, and then now you're down, and now you want to go back up again. So you create thought. If you are the creator of your own thoughts, why do you do that to yourself? Why do you create those kind of thoughts for yourself?
Because they often have great utility. So let's go through they often have great utility. So let's go through what you just described, because that's YouTube. So you're on a run, things are going good, and then you do create those thoughts of what's going to happen tomorrow. That negotiation with that other platform that wants the ad reads, they're trying to screw me over. I got to be really careful about that. There's danger. And I often read more into situations from a level of paranoia because I think there is utility in that paranoia. Like the expression oftentimes in these games, it's the paranoid survive, but...
So why do you create a paranoia situation for yourself? That's misery.
If you let it control you, it can lead to misery.
But why do you create... So you're saying that you deliberately create a paranoid situation for yourself?
I think it's me looking at worst case scenarios because, as I described earlier, I am trying to identify the best move on the chessboard and plan for all other eventualities and anticipate what the other opponent is going to do. So you do kind of need to think about what's the worst case scenario. And when you think about the worst case scenario, that can lead to paranoia.
But if you're in control of your own thoughts, why would you create that for yourself?
Because you need to identify what the best move on the chessboard is, and you have to be able to anticipate what your opponent is thinking. You have to think like your enemy, your opponent.
But it doesn't work.
And when you start thinking about like your opponent, that can take you might be dealing with someone who's not balanced, but you still have to figure out what they're doing and what their thought process is. So that's a moment where you're creating thoughts for a strategic reason.
That's amazing. So you truly believe that you create your own thoughts?
I truly believe?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I truly believe. At some level, I create some of my own thoughts.
Do you have anger?
I do.
You do? And
yeah, do you not?
How did you become angry?
How do I become angry?
How did you become an angry person?
I never said I was an angry person. I
How
said
did you
sometimes I
create
feel
anger for yourself?
How do I create anger
How
for
did you do
myself?
that? How did you become angry?
I wouldn't say I'm angry.
How did
Occasionally I
you
can
have
get,
anger inside of you, right?
we all have the capacity to get angry from time
And
to
so
time.
you
Because that also has utility, Jesse. Think about that.
and so you
Because if
have
someone's
anger.
breaking into my house to hurt my family, anger is going to pump me full of adrenaline and give me that a superpower in a way, because there's actual utility in that moment. Who's not to say that this is part of God's design as well, to help us protect our families when we need it?
And so you believe that, it sounds like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, you believe that God gave you anger for a reason, or caused you to become angry for a reason?
I think the fabric of reality, if God created the fabric of reality, and the fabric of reality provides me with the ability, sometimes those emotions can kick in. Now, there's times where you're going to get angry and it's not warranted. But if someone's trying to hurt my family, I'll take every advantage I can get.
But because of time, you believe anger is from God?
Didn't God create the fabric of reality?
Do you believe that anger is from God?
If God created the fabric of reality and anger is embedded in reality, they would logically follow that God created everything.
So you believe anger is from God?
No, I think rationale and wisdom, and that's the differentiating factor of how you, so what is a man if not someone who has the capacity to be dangerous, but guided by wisdom and ethos of ethics? So you have the capacity, you're talking about the capacity to be dangerous. What's the thing that allows you to choose when to unleash that anger is rational thinking and wisdom. So that's the layer I think that God is trying to teach us how to be that wise creature.
Amazing.
So I don't know the answers to much of this, because many would say that, no, that's the evil of the yin and yang. That's the evil force that resides within men. But I think it's more complicated than just simply saying all anger is evil, vice versa. I think it's a bit of yin and the yang, and it's wisdom. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Wait, I'm black and slow. I'm sorry for that. But I want to know, excuse me, man, I've been talking all day. I did a 3-hour radio show today and all kind of stuff. But do you believe that anger is from God?
Is anger embedded in the fabric of reality?
That's not my question. That was a question.
Okay.
Do you believe that anger is from God?
Not necessarily, no.
And where did it come from if not from God?
I think the capacity to be dangerous and I would say it came from God then. It could be, I don't think it's purely an evil impulse. So I wouldn't say it came from the devil. So therefore,
You said what now?
I don't think it's purely evil. I don't think anger is purely evil. It's best not to, can you think of a time when anger would have real utility?
No. But I want to know from you, you say, so it sounds like you said that it's not from God, but then you say it is from God. Which one is it?
Well, if anger let's go with yours, anger has no utility then. So let's say I'm wrong, where if someone were to try and hurt my family, that carnal response ingrained within us, if it's ingrained within us, it seems like it has utility in that moment. I understand that without wisdom, anger can take us in dangerous places. If it has no utility, though, I do think maybe I'm wrong about people breaking in your house and anger would give you that. Maybe it would be purely love, but I just think the world's a bit more complicated. So we'll say no, fine. We'll go with anger. Anger is not from, I just feel like all our potential emotions come from God, the entire range. Because without light, you can't have dark. Without anger, there would be no differentiating factor to recognize those who have been able to rise above it. And then he would be able to, that's an indicator. And he can see, oh, this person's living in accord the right way. You can't have the right way to live without the wrong way to live. So I do think it's all part of his design.
And so, yes or no, then, you believe anger is from God?
The capacity to fall, otherwise everyone would just be, I think that's one of the laziest arguments people, like atheists, use. It's like, why is there suffering in the world if there's God?
Because of time, and I'm black, is there a yes or no that you believe anger is from God?
I can't do a yes or no on that, but though I would still probably stick with my initial response where anger, all emotion is embedded in the fabric of reality, and God created the fabric of reality. So it still ultimately comes from him. The capacity to be angry is part of his design.
Well, how do you explain God said that an angry person is an evil person, and that an angry person is a murderer, and that you should not trust an angry person? Why would he give you an identity that he says, don't trust it, it's an evil person, you cannot trust an angry person, it's a murderer?
Because what you're describing
why
someone
would God
who,
give you that and then tell you that you're mean?
Right, because you're describing someone who has given into those impulses and allowed those impulses to override their capacity for reason. He still has to provide the potential for you to overcome that thing. But so when you say, because you just described a murderer.
No, I'm telling you what he said.
That person has already let it overcome them. And so, yeah, you should not trust that person.
I'm telling you what he said. You said you believe that anger is from God, but why would God give you the spirit of anger and then turn around and say, don't trust this person. This person is evil. This person is a murderer.
I'm not saying he's giving you the spirit of anger. I'm saying he gives you the capacity to be angry so that you can learn to rise above it.
Why would you do something like that? That doesn't make sense.
Then otherwise everyone would be walking, or you wouldn't have. So the idea of some people are saved at Judgment Day. What's there to judge if there's no capacity for the negative? That's why we have the light so the dark so that the light can exist. You have to have a differentiating factor. Otherwise, what is there to judge? Everyone's walking around happy according to this worldview.
Who are you?
This is the most interesting interview I've had. This has been a pleasure. Who am I?
I'm totally enjoying talking to you too, man. Who are you?
I'm a flawed.
You what?
I'm a flawed individual who has been on quite a journey. I love fiercely and I'm doing my best. And I seem to be blessed with the ability to control my emotions in a way that I thought was just normal. And it doesn't seem remarkable to me. But when I started making content, people are always commenting on, he's so patient. He doesn't get angry. That seems to be one of the things I've been blessed with. But that seems to I do think that has come from a lot of tribulations.
And so you told me you're flawed, what you do, what you've overcome, but who are you?
Can you give me an example? In what framework are we talking about? Like biologically or spiritual?
Yeah. Who are you?
I'm a father and a husband who's providing for his family and doing my best.
You told me what you have and what you do, but who are you?
A creature of the Creator. Is that what you mean? A son of God?
What would you do if you had no anger, if you had no identity at all? Who would you be?
I don't think there's any way to answer that question
Why not?
because I would have no identity. There's no way to identify anything if it has no identity.
So then why do you say you are all those things you told me that you were? Your husband, your father, you've been through tribulation, you did.
Yep.
Why do you call those things you?
Because when I ask myself that question, I'm trying to respond in the most concise way, and those are the things that rise to the surface.
And what will happen if you stop identifying with those things?
Nothing much.
Why don't you give it a try and see what happens? What will happen, I recommend that you live without any identity at all. There's no up, there's no down. There's no right, there's no wrong. There is no love, there's no hate. There's nothing. Why don't you live as nothing?
I think that is wise. I think that is something to strive for. That would be that would be wisdom.
So if you drop all that and become nothing, you will have an amazing life. But as long as you hold on to all these ideas of who you think you are, you're going to be miserable. You would never have peace.
No, I agree with you. I think there's wisdom in that. It's difficult because when you're sitting with someone like you and they ask you that question, you're trying to articulate a response.
Yeah.
And my initial impulse is I can't answer that question. Maybe because what you're saying is true.
Yeah.
Maybe that is the most wise answer. And it's counterintuitive to then offer a response.
And so instead of trying to come up with one, why don't you say, I don't know?
Yeah, that would be a better response.
And why don't you do it that way?
So I was trying to, because I feel like earlier in this conversation, there have been times where I've said, I don't know, like about anger and God. And like, I feel like that wasn't an adequate response at the time.
What will happen because of time here? I'm going to have to bring you back because this is interesting.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
What will happen if you forgave your mother for what she's done to you?
It would lead to the ideal outcome.
So why don't you forgive her?
I do. I genuinely. So my first response is I do, but now I'm asking myself, do I truly? Because there are still times where I get aggravated when she like looks down on your religious beliefs and things like that. But it doesn't really matter to me, honestly. Like I'm still going to do what I do.
But if it doesn't matter, why haven't you forgiven her so that you can overcome her?
Oh, I have, and I have.
Did you tell her that?
Yeah.
You told her that?
Yeah.
What did you say to her when you went to her?
I said, I understand that you don't understand many of my views, my political views. She resents my politics deeply. I had a 3-hour conversation where in order to get, just recently, I was just home and back in North Carolina 3 weeks ago. 5 weeks ago when I first got there, something was very off. She was upset about what I've been saying on YouTube. And I tried to articulate that this is what I genuinely believe. I'm happy to walk through any of this and answer any questions. I do have my reasons and I could be wrong about certain things and I'm happy to have a conversation. But I think that if you are willing to have that conversation with me, you'll see that I'm not a bad person just because I disagree. And I don't hate anyone who disagrees with me. I can understand why you feel the way you feel about it. And I don't think we should allow one another to start viewing each other as evil because of who they voted for president.
Why did you feel the need to explain all that to her?
Because she seemed very she seemed in a passive-aggressive way upset. It was clearly bothering her, and then she clearly wanted to talk about it. She felt pressure from her friends because her friends don't like what I say on YouTube often. So there's been a lot of social pressure from them, and she kind of feels ashamed about it. She's like, how could my son vote for Trump? These kind of things. And
do you care what she think or feel?
I care what my mother feels.
Why?
Because she's my mother and I love her.
But why do you care what she feel or think?
I would,
If
because
you
I would
love
prefer
her,
for her to feel peace.
I'm sorry?
And if I can, I would prefer for her to feel peace. And if there's something I can say to help clear up confusion in order for her to achieve that,
But
I would
why
rather.
do you prefer her to feel peace when you don't have peace? You don't even believe it's possible.
No, I do. I do think that I am rather at peace, even though my peace is not as perfect as it could be. But that is why I strive. That's what's allowed me the peace that I have, is striving even in the recognition of, even if I can't achieve it completely, being at peace the way I am now is a lot better than what it could be.
So what would happen if you forgave your mother for recreating you in her image by imposing her will on you as a kid, causing you to become angry, and once you became angry, you became like her, and she turned you away from your father, and as a result of doing that, she left a void in you by turning you away from your father and recreating her image. What will happen if you forgive her for doing that to you?
How'd you know that?
I'm sorry?
How did you know that?
I can see you. Do you know I can see you right now? What would happen if you forgave her for doing that to you? She couldn't help it. Her mother did it to her. So what would happen if you forgave her for doing that to you?
It would help lead to the ideal outcome. It would help bring peace to her.
Not to her,
and
but
me.
to you. Why don't you
Right.
do that? Because you can't do anything about her peace. You're not God. She may not want peace. She may love her misery. She may love her hell, and you don't have a right to interfere with her loving her hell. Your responsibility is to come out of your hell. Your responsibility is not to bring anyone else out of hell. You can't do that. You can't even bring yourself out of hell. You don't even have perfect peace. But what would happen if you forgave your mother for what she's done to you?
I will try it. No, I will try it more. I feel like I've done that.
You haven't.
Then I will try. See, this is what I mean by never being able, even though I feel like I've done pretty good on it, I recognize, as you've observed, I have not achieved it properly, and I will strive to do it. That's all I can do.
You don't need to strive to do it. You just to see, yeah, I do have this resentment or anger toward her, and I can't help myself. So I realized she couldn't help herself. She did her best. Mother, I am sorry for resenting you, being angry at you for screwing me up, turning me away from my father, recreating me in your image. You were wrong, but I know now as an adult I'm wrong for judging you for that. And then you shall be free. But you're not going to be free until you overcome your mother. You're
Good
just
point.
like her.
Yeah, at some level.
Yeah. And when you went and asked your father, why did he let your mother do that to you, turn you away from him and recreate her image, what did he say?
He's in a nursing home, so he just watches Breaking Bad on repeat all day. He won't be able to respond to that.
Well, go to him, even though he may or may not understand what you're saying. Forgive him for not protecting you from your mother. He couldn't help it. He married the woman he hated. Every man married their mothers. And the cycle repeats itself. They become the boy and the wife become the mother. And it repeats itself. Forgive your father so you can overcome that. And God will forgive you. And you'll see, man, you will see that peace is possible. But you got to forgive so God can forgive you.
I will think about that deeply.
Yeah.
And maybe next time we talk, I'll let you know how it's going.
We will talk again. I'll have you back.
Thank you. It's
So let
been
me
a
ask
pleasure.
you, I got to put you on the hot seat. Oh, let me ask, does your wife obey you?
Yes.
Your wife obey you?
Yes.
Amazing. And
It is.
so I got to put you on the hot seat real fast, all right?
Any go for it. You ask me whatever you want.
I need you to answer these questions as quickly as possible.
Okay.
The Hot Seat.
What is a man?
Someone with the capacity to be dangerous when necessary, but is guided by an ethical framework.
Is America the best country on this side of heaven?
Yes.
Were women created to lead or to follow?
Follow.
I'm sorry?
Follow. Well, yeah, it's more complicated, but I know some people are going to get upset by that. But yeah, follow, I would say.
So I have to restate the question since I was talking. I didn't hear you. Were women created to lead or to follow?
By and large, follow.
Was Jesus white or black?
I have no idea.
Is abortion worse than slavery? No. Which is worse, abortion or slavery?
I don't know.
I'm sorry?
I don't know. I don't know.
Which
I would say my gut is slavery, but it's difficult to make judgments like that.
Who would you rather see as president? Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, Elon Musk, or Kanye West?
Jordan Peterson.
True or false? When she's crying, she's lying.
Often. It depends on the woman, Jesse. It depends on the woman. The woman I have now, I would say no, she's not. But it's the exception. She's the exception.
So when your woman is crying, you think she's being honest?
I do. She's unique.
Wait till you forgive your mother. You'll see a different story, but we'll deal with that later. Did you take the jab?
The jab? My mom wouldn't let me come home for Christmas if I didn't. So I did.
Did you? Do we need more white babies?
Yeah.
True or false? Oh, I said that already. Is the earth flat or round?
I think knowledge seems to indicate that it's round.
Do you own any Bitcoins?
I do.
Amazing. Have you ever tasted something that was so good it made you want to slap your mama?
Nothing comes to mind.
Have you ever told anyone how the cow ate the cabbage?
How to what?
How the cow ate the cabbage.
I don't believe I have.
Amazing.
I don't know what that means.
Did you have fun?
I did, yes, sir.
Thank you for coming on. Thanks for taking on the hot seat. Tell the folks how to get to your website or your YouTube channel, whatever you want to put out there.
It's just YouTube, Warren Smith's Secret Scholar Society, and I'm on Twitter a bit, or X. What is it? WT Smith 17.
Amazing.
And Rumble.
Amazing. Thank you all for tuning in. I absolutely appreciate it. Don't forget that to support us by becoming a member or going to TheFallenState.tv, right? TheFallenState.tv or locals.com. And if you'd like to see other interesting guests on this show, contact my producer at TheFallenState.tv. And to like, follow, ring the bell, y'all know what to do, right? Comment or whatever. And get Punchy's coffee. Good. My own coffee. Be back at JesseLeePeterson.shop. JesseLeePeterson.shop. Juan, I totally enjoyed talking to you.
Me too. It was very nice talking to you. It was fun. Thank you so much for taking the time.
You're welcome, and we'll talk again. There were so many other things I wanted to deal with, but time did not permit.
No worries. Anytime.
All right, bud. Take care now.
All right. You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.